A couple days ago about on First Take, Cam Newton and Stephen A. Smith, the controversial discussion they had about the Super Bowl and the league MVP. Stephen A. Smith, you see on top of it here, we're not going to play the video, but Stephen A. Smith said, if you could give back the league MVP for the Super Bowl championship, would you do it? And Cam said no. Go into a little bit more, if you want to look at look up the video and so forth, and hear his full dialogue on it. Basically just saying that, he held up his end of the bargain. That's why he wants to keep it. It just proves that he held up his own and no one else did in that moment. And it sucks hearing that, but it shouldn't be surprising because he showed that at that moment in 2015 when he did not go for that fumble. That was a game-changing play. And then after the game, he said it was a business decision. And unfortunately, a couple days ago, that kind of cemented what made people view Cam Newton at that point, where he just didn't care. Winning the Super Bowl wasn't everything for him. And it sucks. It sucks to hear that because Cam, there's so much more that goes into winning a Super Bowl for your legacy and what it does that doesn't show up on the stat sheet and doesn't show up on accolades that he's unwilling to or not caring to look at. It's just all him. How does it benefit myself? It's just me, and that's that's the sad part about it, because you look at the resume. His resume looks so much better with the Super Bowl championship as opposed to what it is now. And he also compared. He said, "Well, you've had quarterbacks like Brad Johnson, Trent Dilfer, and Nick Foles win it. You also had you've also had lesser tier players win league MVP. In 2002, you had Rich Gannon. No one really talks about him highly regarded. You go all the way back to maybe a little too far, but 1982 when you had a kicker win league MVP." Does that mean that the MVP is diluted now too? Because you have lesser tier quarterbacks win it. Doesn't the MVP isn't that sought after because of that? And it's like, no, you're gonna have lesser tier players win championships, just like you're gonna have you had lesser tier players win MVPs. It is what it is. But you also have had high caliber players, elite players, Hall of Fame players, generational players win it. And Cam Newton wouldn't be compared to those Trent Dilfers or Nick Foles if he would have won it. He would have been highly regarded in what he can do or what he did. So you look at the accolades he has thus far, or what he wraps up as in his career. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler, a first-team All-Pro, League MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Let's just for right now in this instance, let's wipe away the League MVP and let's put the Super Bowl in there. So I read this back to you, and it's a 3-time Pro Bowler, first-team All-Pro, Super Bowl champion, and you presume with that too, Cam, a Super Bowl MVP. Now, it's not a league MVP, but you were the MVP of the championship game that of course, you walk with the trophy. So you are a Super Bowl champion and a Super Bowl MVP as well. So you get an MVP back. May not be the same, but still an MVP. As well as you still hold on to the Offensive Player of the Year, and you still have your Offensive Rookie of the Year. You look at that list, that is a lot more enticing if you want to talk about a Hall of Fame discussion than it is MVP. It is. Because you look at the stats on Cam, it's a little... It's not impressive for some of the instances. Like for Cam, you are a below average thrower. You finish your career under 60% completion percentage. More times than not, you had under 60% than you did over. I mean, for 60% or more, he had, 1, 2, 3, 4 years. 4 out of 11 years in his career, he was an above average thrower. Everything else, it's abysmal. I mean, 57%, 58%, 59%, 52%, 59%, 56%, 54%. You look at the interceptions. You threw a lot of interceptions, especially early on in your career. 17, 12, 13, 12, 10, 14, 16, 13. Like your 1 year in New England, you threw more interceptions than touchdowns. I know you ran a lot of touchdowns in, but you still had more interceptions than touchdowns. 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions in 15 games. Pretty bad. And for the 5 games in Carolina, you averaged 8 interception a game in 5 games. You had 5 interceptions, 4 touchdowns. So your prime wasn't that long, but also too for the totality of it, there's a lot left to be desired. And it's not to take a shot at Cam Newton. He was a great quarterback. He was electrifying. He was awesome to watch. He was exciting. No question would people say that he would have had a better career if he went elsewhere, if he had better pieces around him. No question in my mind he would have had a much better career. I agree with completely everyone that says that. But a Super Bowl would have immensely benefited your career, Cam. It is, because end of the day, people are going to look at what we talk about for Lamar Jackson, about Josh Allen, or if you want to say Joe Burrow, when are they going to win one? Now I know you went to one, and we've had Josh Allen and Lamar has yet to make one, but it's still still the same thing. When are they going to get one? When's it going to be their time? If you would have had a Super Bowl champion under your belt, this would have immensely helped. Now I'm not going to sit here and say that you would have made the Hall of Fame with the Super Bowl, but it definitely helps you out far better than what you have right now. So we have that. You have a much better argument for your Hall of Fame resume. You have a Super Bowl you're a Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP. You're still the first team All-Pro, still Offensive Player of the Year in that season. Other things as well, if he cares about it, at least for the franchise wise, is it might happen regardless either way. You would have had probably your jersey retired. Again, that probably is going to happen either way. They probably would have built a statue for you. If I've seen that he cares a lot about himself. I'm sure that very highly of him. That are gestures that the Panthers could do for him. Not gonna. Once again, that might happen regardless in the future. That he might already have his jersey retired. It might be a done deal for that in the future. The statue, whatever it may be, but that would have happened. That would certainly would have happened if you would have won one. You would have been the quarterback to bring the franchise's first ever Super Bowl championship back home. That means a lot. It may not be league alternating or outside, for the entire NFL, but for your franchise, that's everything. It's everything for the fans to win their first ever championship. That's immense. Even taking a step back from that, Cam, look at the team perspective. That also benefits you. And again, I know you don't want to look at everyone else. You just want to look at yourself. But this also benefits you as well. Your team was 15-1. You, outside Greg Olsen, you really didn't have that many great weapon-wise for pieces. And you had a couple Pro Bowlers, and I think All-Pro on the offensive line. Stewart, the running back, he was a Pro Bowl player as well that year. But in terms of weapon-wise, again, outside Greg Olsen, you really didn't have too much. So you were carrying that offense really, and you had a good defense as well. I don't want to not give the defense credit too. They did their job, but you carried this team. You were the driving force of this team going to 15-1 all the way to the Super Bowl. If you would have won, you would again 15-1 would have taken your team all the way to the Super Bowl and beat an elite defense that people will highly regard now because they won the Super Bowl in the 2015 Broncos defense. You would have beat that. Not only that, you could say you beat Peyton Manning. Regardless of how you feel or how you look at it in Peyton Manning's final year as a player, you could still say, I beat Peyton Manning. It may not show up on the stat sheet, may not show up on the accolades, but it helps your story. It helps your legacy. But again, he just can't see that. He just can't see that, past himself. That there's more to it that would benefit him in his story and his legacy if he would have won that. Then it's all me. I held my end of the bargain. It's not my fault. And going back to what I said in the beginning, that him not going for that fumble in the Super Bowl, what he said a couple of days ago solidifies what many people thought in the championship game. He just didn't care, and it's sad because we would talk about Cam Newton much higher. Even if you're the biggest Cam Newton fan, you would talk about much higher if he won the championship. Because that would have done so much more for him, as again for his legacy as a player, how we look at him, and it's unfortunate that for him it doesn't mean that much because he's worried about the lesser tier quarterbacks that have won it and go, well, these guys won it, so why should I have a Super Bowl when I have a league MVP when I was voted as the best player? There's more to it than that, and it's unfortunate that he looks at that way. And then if he's comfortable with that, he's fine. It doesn't bother him then. It's his life, and he, seems like he's doing just fine. Obviously, without that Super Bowl, beyond sports shows, have his podcast and all that, so he's doing just fine, making money and doing his thing. But it just, as a competitor, you would think, especially for Cam Newton, how he was, that he would really want that. And it's unfortunate just seeing that. I remember watching that live in Super Bowl 50, seeing that play, and then just hearing that too. It's unfortunate that he would say that. I don't want to say I'm not surprised, but it definitely it sucks hearing that because I thought Cam would, as a competitor, would want that more. And and the problem is he doesn't want the Super Bowl because he's just looking at himself as opposed to everyone else, and not even that. Again, the things that benefit him that doesn't show up on paper that would have helped with that. So it's disappointing to hear it, but at the end of the day, it's Cam Newton. He's going to keep moving on, and it's going to be. It is what it is, but unfortunately, he got from Cam Newton because there's a lot of players that would have said the opposite. Whether they mean to say it, or it's just good to hear it on TV. And I guess you can give Cam Newton credit. He is truthful. He is authentic. So you can give him that he was truthful at that moment. But it just still sucks to hear that.